Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Wait for the signal. Come on. Come on. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Come on, man. What the fuck? Is the stream zucked now? What the hell is going on? Hello? Are we live again? Testing 1, 2, 3. Say ripe banana if you can hear me. Ripe banana. That's the safe word. That's the safe word for this evening. Ripe banana. If things go too far, if you want us to slow down, you just say that and we'll slow down. I swear to God, it doesn't usually happen like this. Usually we get a half hour before the stream gets all fucked up. But, you know I usually go much longer than this. Okay, we're seeing ripe bananas in the chat. Fantastic. So we're back, and now that we're back, we can open with the prepared with the recycled theme song that I had all loaded up just for this occasion. Personally composed by moi, which is a shock in and of itself. This is why it's the solo cast. Ah, that is nice. Oh, yeah. All right. So, here we are, as I said in the previous two extremely tiny live stream segments. Welcome to tonight's episode of BananaCast, the single-player edition. And as I was describing before being so rudely interrupted by the semi-sentient algorithm, that that if you would like to hear the much more sexually explicit podcast, you may want to go to episode 9 of the break room, and kind of the episodes before that as well, and also whatever the hell episode last year's was. It was on either Valentine's Day or the day before, and that was an exceptional love-in as well. Very first one though was great because that you heard about Oakhart's lesbian experience, which was quality. Whereas this podcast, all the female sexuality you're gonna get is right there in the middle of rarity. So you better enjoy that. Otherwise, crack open all of those miscellaneous alcohol and drug paraphernalia and settle in for a good night, because I would feel guilty if we did nothing for the old V-Day. So we're going to do this. So we're going to have a little podcast, a little chat. Oh, sweet. We have bananas being eaten during the BananaCast. The inception is palpable. What's in the news? Anyone, feel free to have whatever Valentine's, Hearts, and Hooves related discussions you would like. If anyone wants to have a best waifu discussion, if anyone would like to have a tell their own story, I don't know, you have any hookups at cons that were especially interesting and don't want to name names, we're here to talk and chat as late as you want. And all of you out there that do listen to us and have very intimate experience this weekend, feel free to play this podcast over the top of it, because even with my semi-stuporous rantings, I'm sure you get something out of it, some kind of pleasure out of it. So the yeah, actually, the Afro Ditty is a bit of a test too. I really actually want to mine the old discography from the Balefire Symphony album release and actually assign theme songs for the other programs, including this one. I already have an idea of what song I'm thinking of reviving, pulling out of the old Disney vault for the BananaCast theme, and I equally have some ideas for the break room and for What the Fick as well. They will need a little bit of editing, though. Gonna trim them down to a healthy 30 seconds to a minute for a good podcast introductory sound. So we'll do that. Mourn the death of a fellow banana. Yes, I do understand that Courage the Cowardly Dog reference. Oh my gosh, can we talk about how quality Courage the Cowardly Dog music was? That was something else, man. That show was golden. Especially the Cats theme, Katz. That is that soft the rolling snare and the I wish I could get that guy to compose just one whole background soundtrack. We'd have constant smooth jazz running in the background of this. I've actually been considering that as well, finding some kind of playlist of loopable, smooth, lo-fi beats for studying and chilling and sleeping to that can play in the background of my piercing voice that would just give a little bit more character and color to the background of our monosyllabic discussions. It's not waifu, it is waifu. I don't know if my tongue can make that noise. No waifu. I've always said it waifu. Like waif. Maybe that's why. I've always interpreted it as waif you. You're looking for a waif that who needs you to be full. You are, you're the you're I don't know, the carbohydrates of her system. No, I did not know that. Okay, we could go waifu. I'm pretty sure waifu isn't correct either. I mean, I'm not sure. What is the right word? Is it, there's some word for, like, the anglicized, Latinized versions of Japanese characters, but I forget what that word is. Kanji? I don't know. Anyway, whatever real or imaginary character that has captured your heart, hope you have a wonderful evening with her or him or them, whatever. This is an equal the podcast is full of love. We want everyone to hook up. Whatever other sentient, legal consenting creature you can find that you would want to share a life with, you go for it, man. If it's a multi-tentacled alien from Venus or something, the whole idea is pair everyone off. This is like that movie Hancock, which had nothing to do with hands, or actually maybe it did have something to do with hands and cocks, but that's a whole separate discussion. It's like that movie Hancock, where everyone's a superhero and you can live forever, and that forever living super feats is all about finding that one person that you can finally go off into the sunset with. That was a surprisingly deep movie for a movie about Will Smith being a homeless superhero that that could shoot something at the speed of half the speed of sound. So okay, so now that everyone's got their waifu on hand, I've got my waifu on hand, staring back at me, and yeah, so I guess the only current thing I have on my mind right now is actually the Frozen second trailer, which, at least according to some website I read, it's supposed to be properly pronounced Frozen second, which is interesting. It's like, if that is like official, like, written policy or whatever, that's how you're supposed to refer to it as, has a lot of implications. Because, of course, in the first one, Frozen, besides being a nice generic name that they can market the shit out of, the actual mechanic of who's frozen in the movie is Elsa. Is touched by the Frost Fairy and then ends up getting frosty up on everyone else, sticking her fingers on people and they get frozen. So now the question for this movie is, who is she going to stick her fingers in and they become frozen second? Ha ha ha. There's one character in the trailer everyone thinks is that person, but, you know, that remains to be seen. I know half of the internet would be very thrilled if that's, that ends up being, you know, the plot line that runs out of the old timeline, but we'll see what happens. Otherwise, the trailer was really interesting for sure. It seems like an epic quest where she is taming her power. She's not taming. She has tamed her powers, but now she's like getting better with them, and she's literally just running headlong into the waves. And literally, you know, walking on water like some kind of, you know, frosty snow Jesus, which sounds interesting. Could you imagine Jesus walking around just in normal, you know, normal 0th century Middle Eastern, you know, light robe attires in the middle of Scandinavia? That would be amazing. It's like, could he freeze to death? Would that have been like the alternate version of the Bible is gets frozen to death and then comes back 3 days later and I don't know, have a big reindeer feast. But yeah, no, so she walks on water, and very interesting, she tears off her dress first, which could have gone many different directions, but she rips off her dress and then she runs headlong into the surf. Sort of like, if you want to get all like this is some kind of serious internet movie discussion show, which it isn't. This is not Red Letter Media. If you're looking for multimillionaire Mike Stacklasa, who just spent I don't know how much money buying and then melting 2,300 classical Kenner Star Wars toys, Mike Stacklasa, who is probably elevating the inherent value of whatever original Kenner Star Wars toys that he didn't destroy in that aquarium, then that is where you should go. This is not that channel. I have borrowed voice impressions from Mr. Plinkett and the various Red Letter Media expanded universe. This is I consider this the Rick and Morty of them. Red Letter Media is Back to the Future. This is the Rick and Morty production, specifically the Australian Rick and Morty production. Okay, let's what is the actual chat talking about before I get lost in our Frozen second discussion? Hungover. Oh, and no caffeine. That is a bad combination. If you're both hungover and without caffeine, I've heard that's a rough combination. At least from what I've heard from people, that a good answer to hangovers is greasy foods. I'm not sure how true that is, but I heard from someone that when they had imbibed too much the night before, that a nice greasy Burger King sausage, egg, and cheese croissant is it was their method of of feeding the beast. You know, putting the hair of the dog back on the dog and then walking the dog like a normal person. Don't know how true that is. Again, good little Baptist boy still somehow for the most part. That's the one thing, to be honest. It's the only thing left. But yeah. Anyway, back to Frozen second, there where, you know, back to the, you know, the epic timer to see if Elsa ends up in a lesbian relationship or not. At the very least, we seem to have the continuation of Anna and fuck, what's the guy's name? I almost said Olaf, but then I remembered Olaf was the snowman, and I don't think she was going after that carrot. It's a big carrot, but, you know, Olaf doesn't really seem like the romance type. I'm surprised he hasn't melted yet. Anyway, Anna and whatever the dude's name was, Reindeer Wrangler. I'm excited for that. I know some people do not like the idea of another filthy heterosexual relationship arising at the end of that movie, but that was not what was wrong with the second half of Frozen. What was wrong with the second half of Frozen was that all the music dropped out. There was no more epic songs, and that's seems to be something a lot of these big movie musicals do wrong, is they forget about the musicality of the production. You gotta have your big fight song, and you gotta have your big closing song. And I think it had a closing song, but it's like, at least from what I remember, it's like as soon as she sang the fucking Let It Go, it was let it go, just ringing everyone's ears for another half an hour before, you know, credits started rolling. But obviously, the big twist at the end of Frozen was actually very fresh, you know? The whole movie was about subversion in a way that wasn't, you know, quite as bad as certain Star Wars productions. But the whole love, the thing that warmed Anna's heart was not the love of you know, Reindeer Boy, Rain Boy, but the love of her sister. I mean, how touching is that? If Brave had slightly better scripting and pacing, and probably better songs too, or just something. I know Pixar was never really the song company outside of "You've Got a Friend in Me" guy. What is his name? That guy. He played for like 3 or 4 movies. Except for him, Pixar's never really been a song-based, you know, animated production company. That is where Disney Animation is supposed to shine, and Disney Animation apparently is not only importing Pixar's, you know, visual effects techniques, but they're also importing their lack of music, but not the writing quality. It's almost like the writing quality of Pixar went down the exact amount that Disney Animation parasitized Pixar animation concepts off of them. That oh god, I thought of a Lassiter joke, and I'm just gonna skip over that one. Anyway, yeah, it looks interesting. I'm excited. I actually very much liked too how the end of the trailer was okay. What I was going on about the so. Always, you know, you have these happily ever afters, the stereotypical ending for the Disney movie. What I'm excited about is the couple. That's why I've always been, you know, what all of these things have been lacking. It's like, no, we don't want any character to just be the Zelda, to just be the princess to be saved. We want to see both characters as characters, which I thought we got a decent mix of everyone in the first Frozen. And then you want to see how said characters' relationships develop. If they want to end up in a relationship, great. I'd love to see all the little ins and outs. I want to see the little bickering. I want to see the fights and the cute moments. And that's the bullshit you want. It's not the trophy. No, even, you know, even people who hate the Disney movies, it's not about the trophy. It's about the potential, the future. And unfortunately, Disney usually, you know, the stereotype was how badly they did with sequels to those old princess movies. But it's like, now this looks like they give a shit. There's some kind of story there. And the world's unfrozening. A Frozen second, which is more like fucking winter wrapping up, because we started getting... Well, then again, it wasn't really spring at the end of the trailer. It looked like fall. So it looked like, okay, we had the big thaw, literally. Anna thawed. She wasn't dead. And then we got to, and then, you know, they had their summer of whatever. Summer of, what, 1069? What year is this set again? I think it's like 1600s. Summer of 1669. Bow chick bow wow. And then, and now we're in the fall. And someone else is about to get frozen up in this bitch. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, back to chat again. What is up, Rivet City? Do you know the way? This is all about Rivet City, man. I worked on fucking Rivet Cities. I know the ins and outs of that shit. I could fix this all up, a nice carrier, and we can sail off into international waters and have our first brony microstate. It would be perfect. It would last about 6 months, because we'd all end up killing each other when the waifu discussions became open civil warfare, and then it'd be like the end of Snow Crash. Instead of Snow Crash, it'd be Bro Crash and Brony Crash. I'm gonna go get some Coke. Be right back. Oh, me too. That sounds great right now. I've been re-listening to The Mercenary, and now I have the headcanon that Harvest Orange is the Red Reaper. Ooh, that is an interesting idea. I wonder how that will play out in Confessions of a Wasteland Pony, Episode 8, The Bounty Hunter. We're going to have to see, aren't we? It depends on which kind of alcohol you drink. Like I said, it almost was the Skull vodka, but my the angel on my shoulder told me no, so here I am. Maybe Frozen Second can be a big saucy party with the Elisa I'm pretty sure that's a misspelling. The guy and the Raining Durst the Snowman. Okay. I'm pretty sure there's more words that should be there, but I get the general idea. Disney is dying and has been for a long time. Yes, it has. Excuse me, princess. Shit, what movie is that from? I know that meme. Isn't that an, shit, what is that from? I almost want to say it's a Nostalgia Critic meme, but I don't think it is. Yeah, press S in the chat for Nostalgia Critic, by the way. Is that whole, like, site dead now? I haven't heard anything ever since the whole, you know, the channel... what was the hashtag again? Channel not awesome? I don't know. Anyway, ever since the whole, you know, the cascading controversies, I'm pretty sure it's dead, right? I personally haven't watched it after he canceled the Nostalgia Critic and then brought it back, and I was like, eh. It's like, you know, most people had moved on by that point anyway, and it was just, yeah. We could sail away in Rivet City if the Brotherhood of Steel hadn't stolen the ship's engine reactor. Yeah, that's right. That's the one problem, is that the 100,000 ton, you know, 6,000 person floating city. Yeah, we're gonna need paddles. We're gonna need oars and stuff. Really, really big oars that we're just gonna put out the side of the elevator. Of the aircraft elevators, and you gotta push. That's the only way we're gonna get out to sea. Otherwise, the shore's gonna keep pushing us back into Long Beach, and you don't want to fucking stay in Long Beach for too long. You can't stay in Long Beach. I mean, you know, everyone knows why. You can't stay in Long Beach, especially not at night, because of the Queen Anne. You've got a literal fucking ghost ship sitting right there in the harbor. We would all be trapped on this probably slightly radioactive, decrepit shell of a naval vessel, and the Queen Anne would just invade us like Britain back in the day, and we'd all be haunted by ghosts. British fucking ghosts. It would be disgusting. So everyone's got to paddle, okay? We got to do this together. We're all in this together. I did not rivet. Did I say Sketchy Rivet? I don't know. I saw Rivet City, and that's why I've been going off. I was talking to the BananaCast about you. Excuse me. Oh, that's right. It is from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Yeah, that is what that is from. Man, is that possibly the worst shit from the 90s? That is such an interesting, horrible production. Like, I love 90s nostalgia, obviously. My inner child screams ska music in my ear at least once a week. And you know, it's very, very powerful force in my day-to-day life. But there was a lot of cringe in the 90s. And the Super Mario Brothers Super Show is definitely up there. Okay, yeah, Rivet City. Anyway, another thing I hate about Rivet City, the whole Fallout, the actual Fallout 3 Rivet City, is that apparently at one point the end game, the final battle, was supposed to be you, the player, controlling Liberty Prime fucking bombing Rivet City, or vice versa, possibly. How cool would that have been? How cool would that have been if you, like, had the helm, or you were on a deck gun and Rivet City was, like, floating out into, I don't know, toward the ocean. You're sailing back down to back down into Chesapeake Bay, and you've got Liberty Prime walking toward you in the water like he's Godzilla, chucking big, big ol', kiloton nukes. That would be exciting. That would be really exciting. Who would get to be on drums, and can we sing sea shanties? Yes, of course. I think specifically Wootmaster would be assigned to drums. That would be if he was on board, if we were able to drag his ass onto what do we name our Brony aircraft carrier? I guess USS Celestia. Would that, or no, I'm sorry, RES Celestia. Would that be too straightforward? I feel like that would be good. Or we name after Faust, the RES Lauren Faust, or Fausticorn. I don't know. What do we name the Brony aircraft carrier? Anyway, but Rootmaster would have to be in there as possible drummer, because he does a pretty good job. I know it was broken, obviously. And actually, as far as deck guns go, the aircraft carriers usually don't have too many anyway. It's like a couple of, Sea Whizzes on the side, and then, some rockets too. There's usually some, like, interceptor, like, what are they, Tomahawks? Or, no, I think they're Sparrow missiles. I forget. I think they're Sparrows. Anyway, mostly the flight deck is for the flying of the deck. And so that would, of course, we would reserve the flight deck for all of our Pegasi or identifying bronies, and we'll give them all those water jet packs, and they just got to be really careful, and they can jump off and zoom around for a while, and then hopefully they can land back on the deck. I mean, of course, there is a way to get back on the big old boats, even if you're in the water. But we gotta lay down the platform on the ass end, and then we gotta have the ladders in the water, and make sure that you don't get chewed up by the old propellers. But yeah. Brotherhood would never attack it because they were Power Rangers who did no wrong. Celestia, that way we could have a sister ship, Luna. Yeah, we could get one of those marine aircraft carriers, the LHDs, the either a Wasp class or an America class, and that can be the RES Luna. That would be perfect. Just a little bit smaller, but does more or less the same kind of shit. Yes, nothing but geniuses. That's the ship would run so well. You guys don't even know. 5,000 people on board. They're all bronies. It's like a convention always, but everyone actually has like real jobs they have to do and work. I almost want to write that fanfic now. I'm just picturing my day to day when I was walking around the guts of the ships, and picturing every position on board being filled by a brony in like they're not all gonna be fucking what's his name? Black Griffin, an actual sailor. They're not all gonna be Black Griffins. Some of them are gonna be some of them are going to be I Love Kim Possible lots. What position would we give her? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. They're all super battleships. We'll make them all Iowa classes revived. We'll sail the USS Wisconsin out of Norfolk, and then we'll sail the what's another one? I think the Missouri. I think it's the Missouri is in New York. Anyway, we're getting too deep into the naval lore here. Let's take a step back. Let's check the waifu screen. And Rarity's telling me it's time to move on, darling. Everyone is bored of this conversation. So, what is the next topic? Feed me. What do you want me to discuss to fill the empty void that should be a Valentine's date? How do we fill the void besides colorful horses? Of course. Horse is a horse, of course. The Gunners are just reskinned Talon Company, prove me wrong. Yes, the Gunners are definitely just reskinned Talon Company, and kind of worse. Like, even with the Gun Runners, it was a little bit like, it's a little bit too on the nose, right? Like, okay, your name is the Gun Runners. Like, damn, that is, what 5-year-old did you pay to come up with that name for you? I mean, come on, guys. At least with the Van Graffs, it's their name. That makes sense. But the Gunners, like, that's... Talon Company sounds like, okay, there was some military unit after the war that were called Talon Company, and so that organization just grew into becoming a mercenary army. Fine. Or mercenary organization. Riley's Rangers, of course, are the best mercenary type faction in Fallout 3, which is why I gave Battered Blade a cute little Riley's Rangers armored, chess piece or whatnot. Talon Company were also cooler, definitely. Yeah, I got much more pleasure out of killing Talon Company and getting their decent armor than I did from killing the Gunners and getting their various shit armor. Canadian Fallout would be interesting. I would actually love to play a whole Canadian campaign where we just invade Canada and just make it part of America. That would be great. That'd be the best Fallout game. No, I actually have no idea. Like, I don't know what Fallout's future is going to look like, but it's going to be interesting. I think Bethesda would definitely have to go with a bit of a spiritual reboot as soon as they're done with Starfield, and then the Elder Scrolls 6 more times. I'm sure they're going to touch the Fallout property again. It's obviously too lucrative for them to... They're not going to sell it or give it up. So whatever they do now after 76, I feel like they're really going to have to get their shit together. It's going to be a while. We're looking toward another, probably 7-year wait. Who knows? But that's just my impression. My personal impression is... We're probably waiting another 7 years, and hopefully it's better than... hopefully we go in a good direction, rather than going from Fallout 3 down to Fallout 4, and then down much further to Fallout 76. Let's hope we go back up this time. We'll see. And hopefully the main writer is different too, because apparently he's one of the main problems with these Bethesda Fallout games, is they gave the main writing control to this guy who's apparently like a bit of an asshole and doesn't really give a shit about like lore writing, and a lot of people blame him specifically because he's like the lead writer for some of these games. I think Niagara would be a good area for Fallout. West New York, Southern Ontario. That would be a good area. Yeah. It could be like a faction thing also, not unlike New Vegas, where you've got the Leaf side and faction, and then you've got the New Yorker side. Then again, I don't know if upstate New York sounds like that. They probably don't got the Brooklyn accent, do they? Probably not. I think it'd probably be a little bit more like New England-y. Yeah. New England is a strange mix of accents, that's for sure. I'm still hoping for a Fallout Chicago. Yeah, I know. I mean, wasn't that the No, Fallout 3 Van Buren was supposed to be Texas. I think that was in Tactics, actually. There was a small amount of Chicago in Tactics, which is very unfortunate, but at the very least, Tactics had good music. I'm always gonna... I could say that, because the Tactics soundtrack comes up in my rotation, and it's decent. It's early Enon Zur. It would be cool if the Triggermen would actually make sense in Chicago. Yeah, the Triggermen would have made a lot more sense in Chicago. See, I feel like that was the real effective spark of New Vegas, is they were able to capture an unmined section of Americana, like World War II Americana, that hadn't been properly tapped yet. And Fallout 3 worked because it was the DC, is the capital. It's OG Americana. But Vegas, I mean, that was the birth of the atomic age, was in, Vegas's warm glow of what was that hotel called? The Starburst? The Starlight? Was it the Starlight? Ah, damn it. What was that Vegas hotel called? Now I gotta Google it. Vegas Stardust. I just thought of it. The Stardust. In the warm glow of the nuclear age from the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas, it was perfect. And then you wrap in, a technocrat like Howard Hughes in the form of Mr. House, and the house always wins, and the gambling, and it was perfect. It was a great synthesis of Fallout concepts to come together in one game, because it was people that gave a shit. It's people that really were trying to think of neat Fallout-y things that gave a shit. Because honestly, Boston is like a step down from DC. When you're talking about classical Americana, like, I get it. Yeah, a lot of it started in Boston, in Massachusetts and shit. And they tried to do like the Minutemen thing. But honestly, the idea of the crankshaft, like, laser guns is like, that would have been a lot cooler if the guns weren't so shitty. Like, I get it, compared, like, making that an analog for, like, powder rifles, black powder rifles, but Chicago would be cool. I think there could be a lot of potential there. And really, again, it just takes some inventiveness. You've got like 125 years between the divergence point of World War II and the actual nuclear war of 2077. Like, there's so much imaginary lore you could build into the story. Chicago, it was the home of the of two of the most famous World's Fairs that happened in history. The Columbian Exposition, and then I think the I forget what the other one was called, like the 36 World's Fair or something. And anyway, so make it that. Make it so like some faction controls Chicago and they've got a whole bunch of high technology sectors going again. Maybe they're a technical empire. They're Mr. House in 50 years, but obviously the leader isn't Mr. House, it's someone else. Maybe it is like, now you do have a successful city and you're fighting for it. You can almost blend it a bit with like a cyberpunk story too. You've got this one rebuilt sort of successful city and then it's descending into civil war, or something like that. So much you could do with Chicago. So much you could do with the history. You could have a whole plot line about like, oh yeah, and then once we captured Kenyatta, then we had a whole bunch of Navy ships bringing stuff from Kenyatta down into the Chicago harbors. And so you've got like, all these storage containers or all these warships just sitting there in the Lake Michigan. Who knows? You could do so much with it. You could do just so much with it if you hack. I mean, you could get a group of like 4 or 5 fan fiction writers, and they could probably write a better Fallout game than Fallout 76 or 4. That's for fucking sure. Especially Brony, nuclear horse Fallout writers. The Triggermen were cool, but they did nothing with them. Yeah, that was also a thing. Central New York State, and no, we don't have the New York City accent. I'm sure that's a mixed bag, though. I'm sure some of you probably don't want the New York City accent. I can imagine that getting a little bit annoying, like, no, we're not Manhattaners. I've heard the same thing with other big cities, like the difference between the French and then Parisians. That like, the Paris metropolitan area have their own sense of what being French is compared to the rest of France. Heck, Long Islanders are pretty different than New York City people. Yeah, that's another thing I've heard, that Long Islanders are a lot more like Albany or Rochester types than the 5 boroughs. The 5 boroughs. Also, I think Bugfesta's Fallout game is bad, even 3. Yeah, I mean, 3 wasn't a perfect game. That's for sure. It was. I think it was good because it introduced this, what Fallout already was, this incredible thing that Tim Kaine and those others had built. It introduced it to sort of a new generation as well as a wider audience to access it. Like someone like me, where I fucking suck at those old isometric games, so I've never played Fallout 1 or 2. But accessing the lore and discovering the music and the story and the whole universe, that was really great. And one thing they did right is the atmosphere of Fallout 3 actually felt like a fucking nuclear wasteland, which we didn't really have since then. You know, Fallout New Vegas, you kind of got away with it because it was kind of westerny, like Mad Max wasteland. But Fallout 4, no, I hate that shit. I don't want any realistic fucking Chernobyl, grass is green, oh, look at all the pretty water physics and all this shit. No, I want my fucking nuclear hellscape. And I want, you know, a small bubble of life and civilization that everyone is fighting to protect or conquer. I don't want just like, you know, it's so dumb too. It's like, yeah, obviously we have highly irradiated animals in like modern day Chernobyl and shit too. None of them have like, you know, but all two heads. They're not all rad stags or mole rats or whatever. So then taking all those crazily mutated animals and putting them in the same environment as like generic grass is green kind of trees and stuff like environment, it's a dissonance. It doesn't make sense. At the very least, give the grass a weird color, you know, give it some kind of tinge where you know everything is off. You know, if I wanted a realistic post-nuclear, you know, hellscape, I don't know, it looks like Far Cry New Dawn is gonna be that. Who knows? Philadelphia could be good for Fallout. We had Pennsylvania in Fallout 3 with the Pit DLC, but Philly is pretty different. The Pit DLC would have made a great Fallout game. That's almost what I'm describing with Chicago. You have one city that is like rekindling a new world. You know, it's Red Eye. I mean, that is the Pit. It's the Red Eye story. You got one crazy asshole, but he's got a whole bunch of people, slaves or griffins or otherwise, and he's got all of them working and building industry again. And then it's like, okay, but who's going to be running this new world? It's like, I don't quite like this government or whatever. That would be a good game. And then you have the factions, and maybe you play on the inside or the outside. Or, of course, as I've been saying, Fallout Hawaii. Fallout Hawaii is my perfect idea. I could do so much with it. I could write so much history between World War II Hawaii and Fallout Hawaii. You know what I'd start with? I'd start off with, after World War II, Hawaii, the whole island becomes a federal, like, military, like, fortress island. It's like DC. It's not a state. It becomes one giant crazy-ass fortress force projection zone. Because, of course, you know, this kind of alternate, you know, Fallout tier America, where you've got, you know, us, like, genociding the Leafs and Day of the Rake and all that. Obviously, we're not going to let Hawaii be, like, just a state. It's going to be a fortress island, and it's going to be used to project power against the Soviets and Chinese. And then from there, from that premise of it just goes like, you know, full blown, whatever. And also you wrap in some other lore with it too. Conquer Japan, same thing. Japan becomes like a subject colony where it's just a giant series of military bases. Even more so than current. I understand the politics of American soft empire, which is really shitty in a ton of ways. But within the context of the Fallout universe, where literally the world is being divided up in half, you know, that would make a lot of sense. And you could have both, even. You could have, like, a whole DLC in Americanized Japan. I mean, this is the potential for a lot of these Fallout locations. If you extend the concept of this, like, you know, Cold War, but crazier. It's like, instead of the normal Cold War we had, where it, like, started hot and then tampered off over time, this is like 1959 and it's through 62, but for 100 years. and so, like, every culture is, like, you know, even more America influence. And you've got, you know, and then you've got the Chinese sphere of influence too. You know, maybe you have Chinese, you know, communist Philippines, or even Japan. You could have a thing where Japan gets taken over by China too. That would be that would be an interesting storyline. You could do so much if you just had people willing to take that thick Fallout Bible and do stuff with it, rather than this shit. A game where the whole story of the game is already over by the time your asshole leaves the vault. Anyway, let's go back to the chat. What about the glowing sea? Yeah, the glowing sea, but half of Boston. That would be interesting. And then the other half looks like Fallout 3, but higher graphics. I don't know. Make it more water too. Okay, you've got a giant ocean front. Do more water shit. Give us, I don't know, give us something. Give us jet skis. I don't know. Halo was able to make use of some vehicles. Yeah, bring vehicles into Fallout. That'd be funny. The water vehicles would be a good trade-off, because of course everyone would bitch about, oh, vehicles would break the game of, you know, the land. Okay, fine. Jet skis. Fucking mix in Waterworld. Since we're talking post-nuclear, you know, wasteland movies, bring in a Waterworld theme. And you got your guys riding, like, jet boats and shit in Boston Harbor, back and forth between, like, you know, all these different locations. But then, on land, you just don't have vehicles. That would be great. Yeah, I know, Megaton, people build a whole city around a bomb. That is really funny. The Pit is a moral gray story. Asher is a flawed man with good intentions. Same with Werner. Yeah, no, I agree. The Pit had good writing. That was a very interesting story. Yeah, you had the concept of the cure too. This guy, he's like, okay, I'm gonna find a head scientist and I'm gonna fuck her. And then they end up with the cure. They literally engineer. They give birth to the cure for the what do they call the sickness in the pit? The scourge, whatever it was. Anyway, the cure for the cure for long-term heavy metals poisoning. Because that's basically what it was. What about Fallout Alaska? I'd be all over that too. It's like take Operation Anchorage and then post Operation Anchorage, and then heck, give us a DLC where we fight the Gobi Desert campaign. That'd be cool. Where we do the same right back to China. Yeah, a militarized post-nuclear Anchorage. Yeah, you could do an interesting reversal, too. Like, okay, yeah, you've got the nuclear winter, but what if all the other weather is all fucked up, too? So maybe, even though you got a nuclear winter, the ambient ozone of the whole planet is depleted, so then whenever you have your Fallout Anchorage or Fallout Alaska game, Anchorage is actually warmed up a bit. So maybe that storyline is people way the hell up there are like, hey, we've got a lower population, and some of this permafrost is starting to thaw. So now we could actually, like, rebuild a new civilization beyond the Arctic Circle. That could be kind of neat. We could get a proper look, yeah, Anchorage, proper Fallout London. That would be kind of cool. Fallout Germany would be another one. Yes, yeah, Germany, same thing as my Fallout Japan proposal, is just, instead of letting it become a country again, it just remains a permanent, like, a colony, essentially. That's basically what we're saying. Everything becomes America colony or China colony. Maybe you have some gray zones like Western Europe and Russia and stuff, and the Middle East. At least in the Fallout lore, the Europe and Middle East have their own little nuclear war, so that could be interesting to explore too. Maybe you start off in pre-Great War Germany after the European Middle East nuclear exchange, and maybe that's the only part of Europe that's still left. Maybe you're trying to maintain order in the what would you call it? Like, a U.S. overseas German territory. I don't know. What the fuck you wanna give it some really spoofy lore name? And you're like trying to kind of pull the pieces back together. Like that's all, just like Canada, that's all getting nommed up into the colonial influence. And then the Great War happens. I don't know. They got to explore Russia more too. Russia has most of the nukes right now. How do you get all the nukes from Russia into China over the course of that century? What happens? Like, my theory would be, okay, you have an earlier Soviet collapse. Like, when the Soviet-Chinese tensions first start ramping up in, like the 60s or whatever? Let's say China uses some power play and they check the Soviets and get, like, Upper Manchuria or like Eastern Russia, like all the way up into Siberia and whatnot. And maybe they then, between the fallout 1970s and 90s, they use that and they exploit that Arctic oil and that kind of influence and whatever, and they just become stronger. They build more nukes and faster. Maybe they, take their instead of stopping at Taiwan, they march on into Kazakhstan. And so the Russia of the Great War is basically, it doesn't go any further than the Urals, and it's just a smaller size. It has less overall influence. It would be like it would be like China. You just reverse them. You make Russia the one with like 200-ish nukes like China is today, and you make China like it is today the one with the 10,000 nukes like Russia is now. You could get creative. That's all it takes. Some fucking creativity. You get a bunch of highly paid. You're getting paid to write. You get a bunch of fucking highly paid writers in a room, and you have them just talk about neat shit that could be in your game. It's that easy. It is literally that easy. Waterworld did suck, definitely, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't mine it for post-apocalyptic premises. Cold War, yeah, exactly. You'd still have the Russian-controlled Eastern Germany, so Germany would be like, it could be similar to Japan. It could be like a half and half zone. I don't know. There's a lot of shit you could do. What you do is you have China conquer Eastern Russia, and then China works its way down the Vladivostok, that whole side of the country, all the way down into, the Japanese, the upper islands, and whatnot. Just like there's actually a border dispute right now between Japan and Russia over some of those islands. Maybe they take one of the big ones. So then there's like the American and Chinese line, like somewhere near, somewhere like northeast of Tokyo. Who knows? I don't know. You could do a lot. It just takes some creativity. Let's see here. Talon Company only got wiped out in Fallout 3 because Jabsco was their only leader. Yeah, I mean, both Talon Company and Gunrunners, I mean, they weren't a real faction. I mean, even the Great Khans in New Vegas got more, like, riding attention than the Gunners or Talon Company. Oh, yeah, old military ships and stuff in Fallout London? Gunners, not Gunrunners. Yeah. Yeah, no, oh, man. It could be so cool. You could see the gradient of, of the imperial American influence on the various countries and like the alternate world way. So it's like then like forcing like American 50s Americana onto, you can mix it up a bit. You can make it a combination of that and like British 60s and 70s, like whatever. So it could be it could be a unique blend, it'd be something like halfway between BioShock Infinite and We Happy Few. That would be a hell of a game. You just sail fucking Columbia right over Britain like it's a Grav Zeppelin, and starts dropping some of them magic, spark jelly airships, and they just invade Britain. So stupid. Oh man. We were so afraid we'd be speaking German, and instead we're now talking with burger accents. This is lame. Oh man. See, you could kind of have fun with it too, You could have your tongue in cheek. You could have your Shav characters being like, yeah, we continued on doing cool stuff even after the occupation, You could have because obviously the America of the Fallout universe is not purely a good guy either. It's just the better side that your characters are on or whatever. So you could get creative with some of the political satire. You could name Britain like Airstrip 1, or not like the whole island, but you could make that a commentary on like one of the air bases there, of Filingsdale or whatnot. That could be neat. That could be funny. You could do a lot with that. Fallout in the South, not West Virginia, like Deep South. Oh yeah, like put it in like Pensacola with those shipyards, or Florida. Florida would be a great Fallout. I know obviously Fallout Miami, the DLC people, they're really exploring that concept, but I mean, you take that to its logical extension. You got Florida, which has some of the biggest naval bases, in the lower end of Georgia. You have like the main nuclear boomer submarine naval base, Kings Bay, which is like, yeah, you don't even know how many nuclear missiles are sitting right there in Kings Bay, just north of Jacksonville. It's pretty fucking crazy, let me tell you. So you got that. You could easily, that be one of the main locations. You got Miami. You could do the whole Everglades could be like Point Lookout, and then down the highway up on the Keys, the West Key West. There's a bunch of giant naval shit there too. So many interesting things. But instead, we get fucking West Virginia. And even then, they couldn't come up with anything really creative at all. I mean, okay, so what do? They took a lot of the like Fallout 1 and 2 companies, and they're like, oh yeah, they had a research thing here in the hills of this place outside of Charleston. That is so fucking lame. How about this? Instead of just building the congressional bunker at the Greenbrier, make it an entire like alternate Congress, and like really build the Greenbrier out and make it like a real like alternate, seat of government. Make it like a whole Capitol building underground underneath the Greenbrier. Have a giant faction of the government that isn't the Enclave. Maybe it's something else, still perpetuating or whatever. You could have a whole history where, this is the Fallout universe where literally every resource of power is running out. That's the whole point of the resource wars. Everyone's running out of oil. Everyone's running out of uranium. Everyone's running out of gas. Make coal one of the last big resources, have more than just the one strip mine with the, the big German, strip mine vehicle. Have like 3 of those around the map. Make it look like horrific. Like they're just raping every last corner of the planet they can, before nuclear war descends upon all of them. Have some of the land that's already mined turned into then your missile defense silo network. Have factories built there, running directly off of the coal, building shit. Have one of your major robot manufacturing plants there for Robco or General Atomics or whatever. It's like there's so much they could have done. It's just like with Fallout 4, New Vegas seemed like we really want to make the perfect tree and water physics. Like, we're going to make the leaves so green and every blade of grass is going to blow individually in the wind. Who gives a fuck? Who cares about blades of grass? Who cares about how perfect the water physics are? Give me fucking PS1 water physics. That's fine for the most part. That would be just fine if all the really rich, deep Fallout lore with actual characters and living factions and shit were still there to make a good fucking RPG. Have the same setup where they're still buried in Vault 76, and then they waltz their happy little asses out to the surface, and the big war is still going on. Maybe instead of just the little Chinese one-off robots that are like an afterthought, honestly, have an entire Chinese faction there. Have like a whole Chinese like flight squadron after, you know, nuking the fuck out of New York and whatnot, that they crash in the hill in Appalachia, in the hills of West Virginia. So you've got this whole, like, living colony, and it's still, like, you know, almost all of them speak Chinese, except maybe one or two that are, like, translators. So you can decide if you want to join their faction, and you want to help them, you know, remake the world into their communist Chinese utopia, or if you want to join the faction of maybe a bunch of really, like, you know, hardcore leftover military guys. Like, maybe, you know, the ones running the factories. You know, they're literally probably state-owned military factories, you know, cranking out the robots or whatever. And they're a faction. And you can make it very ideological. You could have, like, you know, maybe those guys are, like, really, like, you know, running the remaining survivors like slaves to rebuild or keep up production or whatever. And the Chinese faction could actually be a bit more equitable and collectivist, and everyone really, like, playing their own part rather than, you know, more later stage communism. It could be neat. You could cover the complex issues that actually were there during the war, where you have a literally communist side and then a pseudo-fascist side in the pre-war America, and it's like you could actually make it interesting, you know, but no. Instead we gotta have Atomic Shop, you guys. You gotta pay $500 dues to have your painted Pip-Buck skin, you guys. This is very important. Todd needs your money. We need to remake Skyrim for the Switch, you guys. Or wait, is it already on Switch? We need to get the Skyrim port for Xbone 2. Xbox One 2 ready, you guys. God damn it. Did you see the news too, where it's like the roasting of Bethesda is so bad that Obsidian had to come out and be like, hey guys, could you chill a little bit about using our awesome game and our awesome RPG pedigree to, like, literally, like, prison shank Bethesda in the corner? It's getting a little bit too grotesque even. Because it's like, I accept them at their word. Obviously, they didn't make an entire game just to say fuck Bethesda. But the timing of it, and then those early cards of the original creators of the Fallout series and the makers of Fallout New Vegas, it really came across as a bit of a fuck you to Bethesda. And especially all the little things about absolutely not, no microtransactions and things like that. It's like, yeah, sure, of course you weren't trying to dance on Bethesda's, you know, digging its own grave. But at the same time, they did take a good 3 months before now releasing this set of interviews and articles like, okay, guys, we get it. We are making our own game. It isn't just one giant, you know, monument to their sins. Oh, man. Spoiler alert, there is a huge new command center under the Greenbrier Hotel. Yeah, I mean, you could do literally anything. You could do so much cool stuff. It's like 100 years. Think of America 100 years ago. You know, Think of America 200 years ago, because that's actually what we're talking about. 150. It's like so much can change between now and then. Where forces of power are, where centers of industry are. But no, instead they took modern day West Virginia, which is an unfortunately depleted industry-free region, and they stuck like a few things around, like in the hills and whatever, and they called it a fucking day. For the next Fallout game, I don't want the Brotherhood or Enclave. They are good factions, but they've been done to death. I agree. No, I totally agree. I want new factions as well. I want all of these things would be different factions. You know, one could be literally the Chinese, or one could be the remnants of the American military government in Hawaii or whatever. So much we could do. Just north of me is one of the places where they test a lot of Black Project things. Yeah, probably. Did you know Virginia goes more west than West Virginia? Yes, I do know that. Yeah, the geography is definitely interesting. Really, I mean, West Virginia, it's not West Virginia, it's Union Virginia. That's the whole point of where it came from, is it was the counties of Virginia Classic that didn't want to go with the whole, you know, capital of the Confederacy kind of thing. So they're like, so they fucked off. Yes. Pip Boy, not Pip Buck. You know what I'm saying. I mean, fuck, at this point, Bethesda probably could make more money making a Fallout Equestria game. Release a $10 Fallout Equestria? I mean, hell, at least the bronies would pay oodles of money for that. You know, that's what? How many Fallout Equestria fans are in the world? 100,000? If you got 100,000 of them to pay, you know, let's say full price, $60, and it's like, you know, decent? You know, it wouldn't be probably full Fallout length, but I mean, you know, it could be something. Obsidian probably did do that originally to stick Bethesda. Yeah, especially after you hear the story about the whole, you know, Metacritic thing and them getting, you know, cheated out of their bonuses. That's horse shit. Like, that was really, really fucking cold. Like, you know, that they probably were happy, you know, letting the community prison shank Bethesda for a while, but it's funny that now it's reaching the point where they're like, okay, guys, stop, he's already dead, is basically what we're talking about here. So I'd love to see Bethesda make an actual Fallout Equestria game available on Switch and PS4. Oof. Xbone BTFO. Oh man, yeah. Could you imagine how neat that really would be? Like a it wouldn't have to be super elaborate. Speaking of which, what is the status of Ashes of Equestria? I really don't follow them too much. I'm behind on even downloading their recent music and stuff too, to be honest. Oh, did I mention earlier that I had probably not, because I was so rudely interrupted by Susan and her bullshit. I could make a passing just friendly reminder that I do have a new Fallout Day song. I do have a new a Hearts and Hooves, you know, Valentine's Day song. It is a parody of Bored to Death by Blink-182, and it is a shipping love song between Sunny Set, Shim Shams, and Flash Sentry. So there you go. Love it or hate it. You'll probably hate it, but that's the new Love Day song. It is a thing. So go check that out. Be nice, please. or not. I'm sure it'll suck. So anyway, just gonna throw that out there. Unfortunately, nothing here. We sort of blew our load last year. We had a lot of good stuff last year. We had the One Last Dance. I believe Dusty ended up on our Valentine's Day podcast, which was really neat. And, oh, and we had our Valentine's Wasteland Survival Guide. We had the we had the Birds and the Bees episode, which was really, really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed writing that. We knew we wanted to do something special for we wanted to do something special for that, and I just I had so much fun drawing the faces and everything. Where was that? There we are. Just lovely. Obviously, I worked very hard on not tracing, but just referencing existing images of shining armor, and I forget where I got the wink from. I found a picture of someone winking and copied it for that, but I thought it was clever. You guys. Stop it. Banana. Hello, banana cream pie. welcome to the BananaCast. All right, we made it over an hour. Over an hour after the criticality, you know, the lost opening segments. Okay. We had another good, healthy, ragey conversation about what Fallout Equestria should have been. What Fallout games could have been. What other topics should we cover? What else is coming out soon? Are there any good movies out? Oh, what about Alita Battle Angel? Has anyone seen that yet? I might be seeing that either this weekend or next weekend. I want it to be good because I want, like, Cyberpunk in general to keep going as long as it can. But I got a bit of a problem with the big eyes. The big, ridiculous anime eyes are very cringeworthy. Very cringeworthy. It's like, okay, in reality, if they were building actual, like, battle androids, outside of literally Japan, would anyone build them with the ridiculous, like, ridiculous anime eye proportions like that? Like, you would imagine making a robot that could actually fit in with the day-to-day general people so that then, you know, she could do her robot stuff when called upon. But, like, I can't get past how ridiculous the giant anime eyes are. Like, come on, man. Skybolt, we need more space operas. Yes, we do. Yeah, we gotta wait for Star Wars to kind of do something else eventually. Hopefully the new Clone Wars season will be good. I don't know. I'm definitely not gonna pay for your subscription service, Disney, to watch that, so you can go fuck yourself right there. If it is good, if, you know, if I watch some previews with some friends and legitimate internet websites, and it is good, maybe I'll buy the Blu-ray. But it's like, it's got to be the Clone Wars. It can't be, you know, Star Wars Resistance or Rebels, per se. Rebels wasn't bad, but it's like, you know, you could tell it was Clone Wars sloppy seconds. And then space opera is like, honestly, that's the potential for Starfield and Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds does look interesting. I am very interested in seeing what like tone, what kind of story and everything ends up coming out of it. But Bethesda really need to get Starfield right, especially after Fallout 76. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if whenever they plan on releasing Starfield, if they push that shit back a year to really polish that shit up before releasing it now. Yeah, the clones had way more personality, and I mean, the Clone Wars in general, like, that saved the prequels. Like, that, everything about the prequels was enriched by how good Dave Filoni at the helm writing the Clone Wars was. And, like, that guy, too, the guy who voices all the clones, like, all the clones, how lucky was that of an acting job for him? Like, of course, he did a good job putting the subtlety in the different kind of clones, and Rex versus, you know, Five Finger, whatever their names were. But for him, it's like, it's like a monologue almost. He's talking between his different characters and their Australian accents or whatever. Oh gosh, that was that was really a really good part for him. I still think Disney, if you want to make a good Star Wars movie, you make the fucking Obi-Wan movie about him as a young man falling in love with Duchess Satine in the middle of the Mandalorian War. You get your Mandalorians without some shitty Jon Favreau TV show. You get your epic war and space battles and shit. You get a love story. You get everyone's favorite prequel character and character overall. Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, while he's still young. Don't wait too fucking long this time to make something with him when he's right there. But they won't. They won't. They'll end Star Wars 9, and then they'll make some shitty spin-off that no one cares about. And then the whole franchise will rot for a few years until something else happens. Oh yeah, Domino Squad in 99 died. Yeah, I mean, the Clone Wars, all the individual Clone Wars arcs had something interesting to them. It's like every one of them specifically was like, okay, let's take this piece of coal from the prequel movies and let's crush that shit down into a nice diamond and then finally carve it like we're the fanciest De Beers salesman in the world. And they made every one of those pieces of coal something interesting to look at. I mean, the whole arc, again, I'm a big Duchess Satine sucker, but even the whole arc where they go to the banking clan planet and they talk about all the dynamics of the war, about the financiers of the war on both sides. And it's like, that is interesting. That's stuff that, like, obviously Lucas was trying to, dip his toe into, but he fucked it up by making the politics too vague. It's like, if you want to really dive into it, it's like he obviously could have done it better. Everyone agrees the prequels could have been done better. Anyway. What else is there to talk about? 120. What do you say we go till 2 hours again? I feel like that's a good length for these BananaCasts, because then you don't get sick of me. I don't lose my voice the next day, because I actually do have some more recording I need to do. Probably not tonight. Maybe late tomorrow whenever I get home from this thing I gotta do, or the next day. Because I'm recording the confessions, the demos of the sections to see if they work, do final editing, get an overall length. We're just about at the engineer length now, almost at the 4-hour mark. Oh my god. Woo! It's definitely going to be 5 hours. It's going to be so good, you guys. And I'm waiting to hear back from someone too. There's one specific person I'm hoping to email about something. So hopefully they get back to me soon. Yeah, so what else is there to talk about? What else is going on? Movies, games, music. I mean, should we do a short breakdown of the whole Sweet Victory thing? I'm not sure how many non-Americans or non-SpongeBob fans would get the gravitas of why that became a shit show over superb Owl Weekend. But it was like, okay, so Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, died, very unfortunately, last year of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, this horrible musculo, dystrophy kind of thing. Awful, like, neurological, incurable disease. And then, of course, beloved creator of one of the biggest cartoons of all time. It makes Nintendo so much goddamn money. It's like a major, like, red line in Viacom's budget. Viacom, not just Nintendo. If you want to see a real breakdown, go watch Emperor Lemon's video on why SpongeBob is one of the best shows of all time. He really breaks down everything really well. And ever since then, it's one big fucking downward spiral for stupid NFL or I don't think it was Nickelodeon. It was either NFL or Maroon 5 for coming up with this horribly insult of all these fans who petitioned to have Sweet Victory played at the Super Bowl as a tribute to the beloved creator who died of this horrible disease that, you know, everyone's looking for a real cure to. You remember that whole Ice Bucket Challenge a few years ago? That was about ALS. That was about this horrible disease that, like, a lot of people have, actually. Not just, you know, ancient American baseball player Lou Gehrig. And so he dies, and there's this giant petition, which doesn't make it all the way to, like, 1 million signatures, but it got really close, I think. Something like that. It was a big story regardless. And so then, the big Super Bowl act is Maroon 5 for whatever fucking reason. I mean, the real reason, as football fans understand, is, you know, the halftime show isn't for the men watching, isn't for the people watching football. It's for the wives and girlfriends or people who don't like football to watch something that's outside of this traditional football sphere. It's all marketing. It's just to draw their asses to the seats to watch the big block of commercials in the middle of the Super Bowl. But then they use this big groundswell of support for the memory of Steve Hillenburg, and they tease. They put out little breadcrumbs like they are gonna do the Sweet Victory, you guys. It's gonna be awesome. So then everyone has to sit through Maroon 5's shit ass, like, dirty toilet paper of a halftime show and their one good song. And then we get to the scene, and they roll out brand new looking animation with the opening of Sweet Victory. And then it cuts. And then it cuts to this, like, I don't know. I don't know the hip hop or rap community or whatever. Some rapper guy, like Sicko Zone, or I forget what his name is, just randomly, like, never gonna give you up. Like, he rickrolls his way into the Super Bowl halftime show. Like, they literally, like, rickrolled everyone. All the fans who wanted so badly to have Sweet Victory finally play in the ultimate venue setting for what that song was supposed to be played in. And they rip it all away for this shit. And for like some, like, random shit. It wasn't even like a giant guy. It wasn't even like, you know, something of its own. It's just, I mean, it's just like third-rate rapper man and you know, Maroon 5 and one giant, like, one giant cock tease for this great, it would have been a great song. It's this great 80s ballad, and it's only like 2 minutes, you know. Everyone in the audience would have been jammed. All the fans at home would have been jammed. Just whatever marketing person, like, came up with that, like I hope you really, really enjoy that Frozen Ninth Circle of Hell. You know, I hope you really enjoy the cozy feel of whatever recliner you got, you know, pulled up right next to Judas Iscariot. Like, what an absolutely soulless corporate move. Like, and you people are surprised that people want fucking, you know, Alexandria Cortez to, like, take every last dollar from you rich assholes. Like, god damn it. Anyway, so that's the SpongeBob thing in a nutshell for all of our Euro friends and people who don't know the deep lore of this whole SpongeBob thing. Yeah, that's the thing, too. SpongeBob really hasn't been good since Steve Hillenburg has no longer been the showrunner. I mean, it's like The Simpsons or South Park or a lot of these shows. They were best in the 90s, man. For SpongeBob specifically, it's the first 100 episodes, the first couple of seasons, and they know that. There's actually, I saw it at Walmart just earlier last year, or earlier this year, January. They have a box set of literally just the first 100 episodes of SpongeBob. It's, you know, it's the millennial, you know, best of box for all the good episodes, including the Sweet Victory episode. So anyway, that's the SpongeBob story. fuck, I don't know. What else you guys want to talk about? Covered Frozen, covered Battle Lita. Lita, Battle Angel. Damn it, I want it to be good, but I can't get past the fucking eyes, man. It's gonna be weird. I know I'm not gonna like it. But I will make the big but. Junkie XL, Tom Holkenborg did the music. You know, he did the Mad Max soundtrack. He did a lot of cool stuff. I am excited for his score. That's gonna be exciting. I think no matter how I ultimately feel about the movie, I'm definitely gonna buy the shit out of that soundtrack and listen to it while I'm writing cool stuff. That's gonna be fun. Yeah, I guess we're like, what, 6 weeks away from winter wrap up too. That's gonna be great. I'm already sick of winter, man. It's not just you know, the the approach of Valentine's Day when you're living the single life for that year. God damn it. But it's the winter too. The last couple of years, I don't know, maybe as dumb as it sounds, I really feel like I get the whole seasonal affective whatever thing. It's like you fall off of Christmas, which is when you have all these like big family time holiday events shit, and then you're dropped into the middle of winter in California, which is like shitty winter. At least we've had like rain this year, which is kind of better. But like normally it's just like shitty cold and it's still like kind of sunny outside and whatever. So you don't get all those deep feels that it's winter, but it's still shitty cold. Yeah, I'll be happy to wrap up this winter. That's for sure. The one good thing about being single on V-Day though is when the old tax rebate comes back and you got that nice big stack of money that you don't have to share right away. That's pretty nice. In New Vegas, there's a special toy car that can't be picked up, but moved around. And when moved around, a message will pop up saying, good job, now push RS again to let go of the skull? What? What? There's a skull? That's dark. That's pretty crazy. Oh, man. Yeah, that would be pretty neat. It's, yeah, so, 8 o'clock. Okay. This is good. This is good rollout of the night. I do want to definitely have now obviously I always want to have a big, podcast or whatever, but I'm the only one organizing these, you guys. Now you understand, since the creation of the BananaCast, who begins, who's the prime mover of starting a podcast, I just need a little bit more, a few more messages from them, like, hey, what do you think about a podcast at this time? And then I'm like, cool, bro, let's set it up. Let's do it. Or even if it is initiated, then that time comes, there's no other message. Like, okay, hey, everyone around to do this. I would be totally good for that, man. Never works out. I don't know. Colville Bay in the Captain Dean boat rentals. Ooh, that's neat. I gotta check that out. Absolutely. That does sound fun. Yeah, all of that nice dark writing. That's the good stuff. The really, really dark humor of Fallout. The dang it. The Fallout creative guy. Anyway. Sketchy Rivet for two Eagle Bucks. Sky best streamer. Thank you so much. I'm glad people enjoy, because that's the thing too. I do enjoy it. Obviously, I like hearing the sound of my voice. I don't think anyone would be. I don't think I could lie well enough to convince anyone that it's not enjoyable. I'm not getting some kind of creative buzz from doing podcasts or whatever. I grew up on radio shows. I grew up on Morning Zoo radio and all sorts of different shit. It's like, this comes very naturally to me. And And my mother too. My mother is like a Kennedy. She just talks like 300 words a minute. So in the house, it is like an arms race. Like, she's always talking. So then the rest of us, me and my brother and stuff, we had to get very verbose and chatty to keep up. It's pretty crazy. Like, oh my gosh. It's oh my god. I don't know if it was a toy car or a glitch or not, but it's weird. It's actually just your game, and it's haunted. Your specific game is haunted by the ghost of Colville Bay, or Captain Dean. Isn't that a creepypasta? Like a classical, like, mid-2000s creepypasta, where, like, one specific video game is haunted by the ghost of something? It's probably not one creepypasta. It sounds like 4 or 5 different ones. I know there was one, I think it was called like Summer of '99 or whatever, and it was a creepypasta of like a creepy kids show or a Nintendo game or something. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass. A lot of creepypastas involve Vigias because a lot of people who write creepypastas are internet people who really like the Vigia. So or it's a mod. Oh, okay, it's not a mod. And also New Vegas on 360 can't use mods. Yeah, that's for sure. See, that was one of the few good things about Fallout 4. Well, I mean, there were good things about Fallout 4. Obviously, the difference between Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 was much smaller than the difference between Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Everyone knows that. But console mods I like. Console mods are a nice give for us plebeian console bros, you know. We don't all have a gaming machine with the Nexus mods and shit, man. Video games take up so much damn storage these days. It's like, as soon as like I'm on the brink now of just deleting 76 from my machine because fuck, that takes up a lot of storage, you know. Even on an alternate drive, I'm like, I don't want it to just like sit there. I don't know. Yeah. Did we actually cover the waifu discussion? Does everyone want to state what their tubby wubby pony waifu is, so we can all have that big debate about why, why Rarity would be the better waifu than fucking Fluttershy or something like that. See, it's hard for me because it's like, the top always changes, but it's like Sunset really has settled near the top. Like it's still sort of basically a tie for me between Rarity and Sun Shimmy Wimmy. So that's why we're on to Rarity now. We had Sunset last time. We got Rarity now. And we'll probably go back to Sunset next time. Probably. We'll see what happens, And then we got like Tempest, Edgehorse Bay, but she's only in the one thing. If they would actually bring her back into the series, we could do a lot more with her. Just like the whole Equestria Girls online series is doing a whole lot more with Sunshim. So then we get our Mere Magic like special and her coming back into the horse form and playing around with Starlight Glimmer. That's great stuff. It's really great stuff. So, yeah. I'm kind of early into season 8, like only the start. I need to catch up. Yeah, I still haven't actually finished season 8. I really, really need to watch the ending at some point. At the very least, we got old DWK finally getting back into making the Equestria Girls totally legit recaps. He made part 2 of 3 of Rainbow Rocks. It's like, damn it, man. It's been like a year and a half and you're still not done with Rainbow Rocks? Part 2 of 3? You fucking tease. You bitch. It's gonna be great. I loved it. It was really fun. Why does Fluttershy get so much hate? Because she destroyed the world, obviously. Fucking Fluttershy is the worst pony, by far. Also, also Sky, why does James Vermont hate Yak so much? You know, I find it really interesting, actually. Like, I know James is upset that that there aren't more zebras in the show, which I can understand. Obviously, he's got a zebra OC, and as a South African, he very much wants to see more representation in the show. I get that. I can understand that. I'm actually, it is actually a little bit unfortunate that Zecora has become a bit of a token in and of herself. Like, could easily have some more zebras. Instead, we've had the rollouts of basically every other race. We've had a lot more Griffin stuff going on. We've had a lot more dragon stuff. We've had, the Changeling story arc continue on. I think what pisses off James the most is that they introduced this brand new group, the Yaks, and the first episode was already ridiculous. It was this whole thing with, Pinky and whatnot, and it's like this ridiculous filler kind of episode, but you introduce an entire new group and their civilization, and they are very obnoxious. I will agree with him on that. Like, Yona is cute. She's adorable because she's, she's the schoolgirl version of the Yaks. But all the other Yaks are really annoying. I do agree with him on that. And so I think for him, it's the whole idea that now the Yaks are like this major minor part of the show. They have a really decent chunk of screen time between Yona and her activities with her peeps. And then they had a whole nother Pinky Yak episode because they hadn't been able to figure out what the fuck to do with Pinky ever since season 1. So they keep finding like random weird shit for her to do. And in all of this, there's like almost no zebra stuff at all. There's like one more Zecora episode. And even then, it was really just an episode to set up Mage Meadowbrook of the Pillars of Equestria. By the way, Pillars of Equestria, the symphonic metal opera, is on the way. Coming soon to the L Trains channel with lyrics and story by me, kind of. It'll be much more like Moonrise, a very kind of direct adaptation of the whole, the Pillars of Equestria story. But it's a long story, and I feel like I'm taking a few liberties with really getting all the different angles fleshed out in song. So it should be really good. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's why I think James hates the Yaks, is because he does find them annoying, and he also sees them as like this albatross or whatever the word would be, where like they took the place that the zebras should have had as one of the, as one of the ethnic minorities in Twilight School. So that is unfortunate. I think honestly too, probably part of Hasbro or DHX's discussion is maybe they thought like if they had all the zebras like talk like Zecora, or they made them all like have the accent, that would draw way more controversy than it should have solved. Like, I think it's the same reason we don't see the Buffaloes anymore either. I think they were a little bit too afraid of how kind of on the nose some of those, comparisons are to real world kind of analogs. And I think they were afraid of touching it. Honestly, I think things are just a little bit too charged these days. So you could get away with Zecora because she's established and they can run with that. But if they then introduce the whole Zebra Nation, then everyone's going to compare them to Zecora, and it's just like, it's a rabbit hole that they wouldn't have wanted to jump down. That's my theory. That's personally my theory. Maybe they just wanted to do stuff with different animals. I don't know. I think they could have brought in giraffes too, or more hippogriffs. Always more hippogriffs. I love it. We got our hippogriffs and seapones. Because I love Silverstream more than all of them. Just the ability to have her in the show is so great. She's just like Pinkie Pie with the energy, but without the annoying shit. And she has more redeemable qualities and interesting character. And then you've got Ocellus too, which is like Fluttershy, but without the annoying shit, without the hippie shit, and without the animal husbandry and you know, whatever, all that. So it's like, it really is interesting what they did with some of the Kid Six. Like some of them are substantial improvements to original show characters. Like Gallus, for being, you know, a bit of an asshole, has a lot more depth and story to him than Rainbow Dash for just being a spoiled asshole. Or fucking Smolder is a better Rainbow / Scootaloo kind of thing too, because then you get the whole different dynamic of the dragons. I think the Yaks are supposed to be Afghans, to be honest. Yeah, it's vague enough. It's like they could be Afghans or Kazakhs or you know, Chechens or some kind of, like, you know, Upper Asia Minor kind of looking species. It's vague enough. There isn't like this present, you know, visceral analog in national conversation that really works for them. It's vague enough. Also, yaks are fluffy, but their cheese and milk taste great. Oh, really? I wouldn't know. I have not tasted yak milk. I would be all for tasting yak milk and cheese, though. That sounds awesome. Zebras are still themselves and weren't turned into a deer-bug hybrid like the Abomination Reformed changelings. Yes, that much I definitely understand. Oh, man. In New Vegas, the room where you find Jason Bright's cult, you can find destroyed party hats in one room. Aw, that's sad. Party's over, guys. I finally had a high enough speech skill when I did the when I was doing the Jason Bright, you know, Rocket into an Insanity quest line, where I could actually convince what's his name that he wasn't a ghoul. I felt bad during the previous times because it's like he lives kind of blissfully ignorant, and then after the quest you find him in Novak and he's like, Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I thought it was a ghoul. And it's like, bro, you're just bald. Like, come on, man. I felt really legitimately bad. And so finally, I had a high enough speech during that part of the story where I was like, bro, come on. Come on. You're not a ghoul. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're clearly just a normal dude with normal male pattern baldness. It's just like most guys. Come on, man. And so finally he snaps out of it and he's like, oh my God, you know, they made me build all their nuclear rocket engines and stuff. I'm gonna get that Jason Bright. And then I was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't playing a bad character, but I was like, yeah, fuck those guys for exploiting your mental illness to build them rocket engines. Oh, man. I hate the pony member of the Kid Six, to be honest. Yes, no, that is the thing, is they gave Sandbar, like, literally zero character. Like, they kind of knew, like, okay, so obviously the whole show is ponies, so we aren't really gonna do much with him. The whole idea of the Kid Six was really to flesh out all the other species, all the other character classes, which is great. So now, you know, your various horse RPGs or tabletops, you got a bit more, you know, story for all the different races. I think deer ponies should have been their own race, to be honest. Just reindeer. I mean, they introduced them now in the best gift ever, you know, Christmas special. Just bring reindeer in, like, literally. Not all reindeer are magical. Reindeer are an actual kind of cervid native to the Scandinavias. So it's just like, just make them the thing. I mean, that was the whole point of the Winter Solstice Wasteland Survival Guide. I'm like, hey, you know, they're probably just they're the Swedish ponies, the fucking reindeer. And so Derpy, she's got an uncle who married a reindeer. And so she goes up and visits him sometimes. Uncle Frostwing and his nice reindeer wife, and she's got her reindeer buddy Elby. It's great. They could have easily done something like that. Easily. Sandbar shouldn't be there. Yeah, I mean, hell, just replace Sandbar with a zebra. It's like, obviously, the whole point of the Kid 6 was to flesh out other races. Replace Sandbar with a zebra and, who else is in there? I'd agree with James. Replace the yaks. Yeah, throw in some Kierans. Kierans would be great. The Kierans were cute. It was interesting how they went with the Asiatic Kierans. I actually didn't know about that being a thing. Like, I was thinking, obviously, when writing the mercenary, I was thinking the more sort of literal, like, I guess, European dragon mythology Kierans, which is, literally blending a horse and a dragon. Like you saw some of the early fan art, shipping things of Spike and Sweetie Belle or Rarity, that kind of stuff, those kind of Kierans. If you want, like, really, one of the leading inspirations for me was the Kieran in the Upheaval, Reckoning and Breaking Point stories. There's a Kieran in there that's very, very dragon-like, like very large, but she still has horse-like qualities. But for me, I thought, okay, I wanted a bit of a different character myself. This would be an interesting twist. It would be a really obvious, like, mercenary type character that was very OP. So it's like, it worked out great. And then I was able to play with the whole dynamics of the dragon greed versus the gold. And I mean, that was one of the reasons of dragons being a mythological concept, is just like a lot of the old Greek gods and stuff, is it's an allegory. It's a whole, a parable to talk about human condition of greed and wanting to store all the treasure you can, making you some kind of literal fire-breathing monster. It's great. It's great story fodder. Just have Sandbar die and make the Kid 6 to Kid 5. I still think they should end Generation 4 Akira style. Have whatever the final villain is, get destroyed, but they black hole themselves. And then on the other side of the old black hole, you've got Generation 5 and all of that opening up. And you can have them being a distant villain or whatever, Maybe you could have, like, Gen 4 crossovers, like it's the last Star Trek movie, Star Trek Generations, but not shit. Or what was the crossover movies with Timmy Turner and Jimmy Neutron? I don't know, man. I mean, if they want to reboot the series at all, having a clever thing like that to, like, lead into the new series, that would be neat. That would at least be interesting. Either that or do, like, a Digimon Adventure 2 thing and just have one big, like, swan song episode where, like, okay, you see all the characters grown up. You see them all, yeah, pull the Korra thing, have Rainbow Dash with some lesbian, partner, do all sorts of cool stuff. Show them all as adults, some of them as kids, Fluttershy being a lonely spinster, or whatever. You could do a lot of neat, like, end game kind of things with the characters. And then in 7 to 10 years, you could do a Digimon Try thing and reboot all the characters for one last go-around. No, I disavow that. No. Obviously, whatever the final season is, should be a very well-constructed, start-to-end, super-duper awesome finale. A really solid endgame finale, considering how well the canonicity of the entire show is gone, how the progression, for the most part, of all the characters is gone. It's gotta really pay off. We really gotta see a good end for all the characters. I mean, look at Rarity. We followed her making her little franchises in all the big cities, She became the pony every pony should know. You had Twilight literally become princess and supersede her beloved Celestia's job, basically, and have her own Twilight, too. You had a redemption arc for Trixie. You had a redemption arc for Discord, who's now just like, I don't know, he's like Fluttershy's like Findom. I don't know. I don't know how you describe their relationship, but it's not healthy. And then I don't know. Do something with Applejack. Do something where, you know, she has a little bit more of an ending. Like, I feel legitimately bad for how they just abandoned her character, because I used to love Applejack, but they really just accepted the fact that they were never going to do really anything good with her. Who else? Who else had a good arc? Rainbow Dash became Wonderbolt. That was all good. That worked out in the end. Pinkie Pie didn't really do anything. Fluttershy, like, I don't know. She added grander mythical creatures to her collection. Who are we missing? Is that everyone? It's all the big ones. Sunset has her own series now. Starlight Glimglams. Then Tempest. Bring Tempest back. Bring her in the world somewhere in the show. Give her some kind of ending. And everyone's, you know, kind of wrapped up. The problem with AJ, and I still feel a deep twinge of sadness every time someone calls AJ a background pony. The whole point of her in the opening seasons is she was the rock. She was she was the stable one. She was the one when all the other characters were going off the wall or zany. She was a calming force. She was the one. She was the good friend, just all around, you know. And then playing her dynamic against Rarity, that was really fun. And you got some really good, you know, country isms versus urbanisms and in their dynamic. But it's like, I feel so bad. Like, you know, she was kind to Fluttershy. You know what? Where else I really felt bad was the fucking Bats episode. That was one of the many reasons I overall just hated season 4 was that fucking Bats episode, man. It's like you have this horrible infestation over all your crops, your livelihood, keeping your baby sister alive after your parents both died in some mysterious accident. And you've got some hippie dip bitch come into your farm and be like, oh, you can't kill the bats. It's like, oh, yes, you fucking can. You can DDT those motherfuckers back into Tartarus or wherever the hell they came from, turning ponies into vampires and shit. Ugh. Hated that episode so damn much because I already hated Fluttershy from like the very start. From the very start, I never liked Fluttershy. So then seeing her as the kind of moral victor at the end of some episode like that, like, you know, miss me with that shit. That was horrible. So, but it's like every once in a while you get a good AJ scene, and often it's played off of Rarity, which is great. Like, Rarity's great on her own, and that's something they never really did give to AJ, but, you know, at least you had good dynamic between them and the crazy sauna thing and the episode where they help her set up in Manhattan or all the various things, like, or the ship where it's her and Pinkie and AJ on the boat. That was interesting. Oh my gosh. No, the second MLP will not be a movie where Mr. Subway Sandwich Guy or Bill Cosby are involved. Oh my gosh. So I've told the story, right, where in high school I worked at Subway. That was my big high school job, was I worked at a Subway right at the peak of the fucking right at the peak of the Jared Fogle and the $5 footlong and the Family Guy feast sandwich madness. I remember all those memes, all the commercials, humming the stupid $5 footlong song to annoy my coworker. God, what an awful, horrifying, like Jared Fogle. I mean, he was like those people that win the lottery and then they like go crazy and burn all their money and then kill themselves. But instead, he took like the evil ending. It's like he got a bunch of money and fame for basically just eating Subway sandwiches and losing weight, which would be great. That would be a fine little commercial end. But then he got like crazy off that money and became a horrible pedophile and you know, rightly went to jail and is getting, you know, getting his own $5 footlongs now. God, what a psycho. man, money does crazy things to people. It really does. They didn't really explain what happened to AJ's parents. No, it's still, my leading theory is barn collapse. We could have the non-consecutive theory of maybe AJ's mom died in childbirth, giving birth to Apple Bloom, and then the dad was like distraught, and then he dies later because he's like mourning or whatnot, and he's not paying attention, and then there's like fucking barn collapse or something. So you could do that where it's like split up, but it still feels like it's got to be kind of close like that. It can't be like she dies and then he's alive, and then when Apple Bloom's like 3, he dies in some unrelated way. It really feels like, of all the tiny nothing information they've given us, that they died together somehow. I kind of feel bad for Jared. He got I mean I feel bad for people that get a lot of money that can't handle it, but obviously if you then take said money and you know do your own little crazy sick whatever's, it's like, you know, you gotta pay for that. But it's like, yeah, man, some people, they can't handle money. I mean, that is the tragedy of the lottery. It's actually one reason I'm very much against the lottery. I think the whole concept of lotteries is very predatory. Like, I mean, you know, gambling is one thing, and that's what it more or less is. But the fact that it's managed by, like, the state, that, like, it's the California lottery, that's like, that's sick. That's like playing on people's addictions for money. That would be like, it wouldn't even be like a state drug racket like Switzerland or someplace where they manage the illicit substance to try to get the person, you know, off of heroin or off of cocaine or whatever. That would be like being an active, like, drug dealer, and you're dosing your heroin with, you know, fucking bath salts or whatever, and get people to keep trying, so then when they win the big bucket of heroin, they just overdose. It's really cruel. And it's like, whatever you think of iDubbbz, you know, iDubbbbbz, he had a really great video on the lottery that I watched a while ago, and it really sums up just how predatory it is for you know, less fortunate people. It's just like, you know, and I think most people would be like that. If you have, like, relatively not much going for you, but then you're given like millions of dollars just thrown on your lap, it's crazy. I mean, first of all, in most of these lotteries, it's like mandatory that they put your name out there, which is its own sick kind of like Hunger Games kind of thing. Like, hey, guess what? Everyone else living in poor side of the city, this person just got $100 million. Like, what is this? Some kind of hit list? Like you're trying to put their, you know, face out there? I mean, you'd have tens and hundreds of people knocking at your door begging for loans, you know. Think of your poor neighbor who also bought a lottery ticket and they didn't win, but they really need something. And now you've got the money and they feel cheated out of the universe, you know, giving you the lottery, and maybe you don't have as pressing a need. You just kind of fuck around and buy lottery tickets. It's weird and predatory. Oh no, we have people just joining us. Well, yeah, welcome to the Hearts and Hooves single player edition, where we're bitching about just about everything tonight. It's the you know, the gloves are off. The gloves are off and the brass knuckles are on. Timberwolves could have killed them. Yeah, that is a good idea. I like that theory. I want more Timberwolves too. That was an interesting creature concept. You know, any kind of possible tree or forest hiding sentient carnivorous wolf creatures. That's a neat idea. Yes, yeah, that was the story I'm recently thinking about, which brought all of this back to the surface for me again, is there was some person who recently won a lottery, and of course, they want to do the big check signing on camera so they can broadcast that shit to the world, because I mean, I don't know. I can only imagine whoever wrote the laws and whatever news people, shoved their camera in the face of this person who, this giant chunk of money just landed in their laps. I really think of that movie Nightcrawler. Anyone see that movie Nightcrawler with, what's his name? Fuck, what is his name now? Anyway, he's like, it's like, these like, these reporters that just go to scenes of like accidents or whatever and just get the tight shots filmed up close, and it shows how quickly a money market mechanism like that can devolve into something just horrifically, soulless and without care or concept for the person's well-being, like this whole lottery shit. So I don't know. It really seems like they're all night crawlers out there these days. Does anyone have a Timberwolf OC? Not that I know of. That would be neat. I know I've seen just scraps of Timberwolf fan art, mostly just after that one episode, but I don't think I've ever seen a whole OC like that. Anyway, we're about at the 2-hour mark, so is there any last topics anyone wanted to cover? We really didn't talk about heartwarming much. Can't imagine why. Not really much to say. Everyone with... they should do more Diamond Dogs. They should do more Diamond Dogs. That would be great. Anyone with a significant other, we genuinely hope you have a very good time. For everyone without, take your... take your placebo of choice, and we'll hope for better luck next year, won't we? Otherwise, another quick summary, because I want to keep people updated, because I know our projects are mostly, large tier stuff that just take chugging time. We are close to Terminal Secrets. The big holdup for Terminal Secrets is one of the main female voices in the production dropped out, so they had to completely recast her and re-record her lines. That has been done. I believe her lines have been given to Kelly now, and they are just mixing those in together and probably finishing up whatever music or really fancy final touches that James Vermont wants to do. So hopefully, Terminal Secrets finale in the next month or two, sometime March or April. Confessions, I've been working extremely hard on getting that written. I am doing casting. We are going to have real casting this time. I'm sorry about last time. The script will be done. We'll know exactly what the character is. She's basically Sarah Connor from Terminal Secrets 2. She's basically Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is our Punisher. This is our bounty hunter. She is the 3 Bs, a badass bitch. And she's such a great character. I'm having so much fun writing this final act for her too. It's gonna be so good, you guys. It's a big story. It would be expecting, Ice Mare tier recording for whoever gets cast. So please expect that. It is basically the Ice Mare. We will have those auditions. So anyone out there in the audience, any lovely ladies that want to take an audition, it will be out there for you. We'll have the audition open for at least a month. Well, starting with the day we release the YouTube video, put it out there on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And hopefully Equestria Daily would repost it too. Maybe not. And then hopefully after recording and stuff, we can get that out sometime by June, ideally. June or July at the latest. And hopefully not much more after that. Equally, around the June timeframe is when we will start releasing the Great Experiment documentary in pieces. As we said before, it's going to be a 5-part series spread across the 5 years of Stable Tech. Intro in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and then finally 2017 and the epilogue. And so it would be released over like 5 consecutive Sundays at some specific time, so you can all show up at prime time and and watch the next chapter of the epic story of Stable Tech Studios. And that will also be out probably in the June timeframe. And then Needle's getting settled in at home, and once she does, we'll have more Wasteland survival guides coming out too. We have the end game of that series planned out, so it's really just about the recording, so that might actually end up being the longest, surprisingly. That'll be the one, hopefully we'll finish it this year, and then we can start having books and stuff, and so if we do one more, con season next year, we can have some physical prints of that, which would be really great. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I hope every pony has a good day and a good Hearts and Hooves. Yes, I do too. I hope every pony out there, you find someone you love, some special some pony, whoever that person is, that, they're the right match for you, that all the chemistry, all the good times. We want the good ending for everyone. I know that for sure. And hopefully the good ending will come for everyone, but sometimes it's a little bit longer of a journey. And shit, knowing my family, it's going to be a decent journey. No one in my family married in their 20s. It was all mid-30s. So, I guess I'm still ahead of schedule on that. Fuck. Anyway, why don't we play out with the old love song, and that is one other fun thing. Hopefully we'll have more What the Fix as well once everyone's settled in, and we can get more quality fanfics ready to make fun of with people. And hopefully we will have some theme songs as well, not only for the break room, but for BananaCast and What the Fic as well, and just have a whole lot of fantastic times coming on in the future for everyone to enjoy. So, happy Hearthwarming Eve, happy Valentine's Day, and we will see you all next time on either the break room or the BananaCast.